All right, the recording has started.
Okay. Hello. So I'm Dante Flagger, and we're here to present our IT Capstone project. And I will let the team introduce themselves now.
I'm Evan Bradshaw. I worked on the UI and the front end.
Hello, my name is Ryan McKelvin, and I work on the back end, most specifically the ticket creation module, the ticket escalation automation, and also the database integration.
And my name is Tyler Brooks, and I mostly worked on the back end with Django and some of the front end integration with the fetch request to the back end.
So this project, our goal was to showcase the different areas of information technology that we were all interested in, and that we learned through the course of our time here at CSU. Those being project management, database management, UI design, coding, and cybersecurity. In practice, I kind of led the project. I kind of took the role as project manager, and as mentioned, both Tyler and Ryan were kind of leading the back end, and Evan led the front end development. The problem that we were trying to solve with this, with our project, was through addressing issues we noticed with ticketing systems we've worked with in the past. Specifically, me and Tyler have firsthand experience working with them, so we wanted to implement a ticketing system that addressed common issues that we come across. Some of these were self-service options for our clients, displaying ticket analytics for our technician side, um, easily accessible knowledge base for common issues, and group assignment of tickets for complex issues that may have come up. Um, and yeah, that was the main goal. And as we kind of go piece by piece through our ticketing system, I'll address what we were able to implement and what we weren't able to implement. And we'll be starting off with the front end UI.
Right. So the primary goal that I had was to like Dante design and then me take it and turn it into the TypeScript thing. So uh, I just designed a rather basic login and uh, homepage for all of the tickets to exist. So on the tech end, we designed it with the pie chart that shows the new, the in progress, and resolved tickets or requests. So, and then each showing on my version, I have the filler things. So just a filler ticket with the status, description, and then additional comments and potential troubleshooting options. Uh, and then an ability to create tickets and requests that Tyler took and was able to transfer over to the back end. And so it's very similarly placed. And then on the other end, you have a client side, just without the pie chart, and no real ability to modify any of the ticket information other than just commenting on it. And so similarly, an ability to create a ticket uh, and a ability to create a request, and then just a homepage. So yeah, that is what I worked on, and then just uh, very fundamental coding. I learned TypeScript over the course of this project, and so all of mine is very much built as somebody who learned TypeScript over the course of this project. But yeah, that's my end of the group. And so I'll pass it over to Ryan for some of the back end stuff.
Okay, so I worked on the back end. You mostly what I worked on was the GitHub so people can start working on the coding. Um, let me share my screen with you guys so I can show you what I did. So usually I just worked on the back end. I worked on the GitHub portion of it. So I did database integration and everything. I was not really. I knew how to do SQL, but it's been a long time since I actually worked on it, and I don't think I had the app or the code for to get into SQL, so I was a little bit confused. So that's why I mostly worked with the GitHub portion. Because at first I thought we had to put our code into GitHub. That's why we had the GitHub group thing. But the hardest thing for me that was a little bit confusing was the ticket escalating automation, which I understood. I did work on database schema validation a little bit. And I did work on error and error exception, but I think for me, the ticket escalation automation was a little bit the trickiest for me. But I learned a lot uh, how to work with it, as well as work with my teammates on how to um, get it out there, and also if they had questions for me, because I asked them if this is okay. So I wanted to get it out there first, because I learned how to do things on time, talk with my teammates about it, and also work with them. But I worked with back end development, database integration, and the ticket creation module for mostly GitHub. If I can show that, if I can find it. And Dante did help me put it in a folder, the Flask in my SQL, because I just like posted it up everywhere and not put it in a folder. So he helped me with that as well, which was a good help. But yeah, so I'm gonna pass it on to Tyler, which will show you the front end as well as actual code that we did in SQL.
All right. So once again, my name is Tyler. I did a lot of the integration work between React and Django. If I can maybe zoom out a little bit here. Okay, so on the Gantt chart here, I was responsible for backend development, ticket escalation automation, database integration, and then integration of UI with the backend, and then system testing and debugging. I was able to get working backend with Django. It was a bit of a parallel development situation. Ryan kind of explored the Flask and MySQL server. And I went the Django route and found that it has the SQLite 3 built in as part of the Django builder. So I created the Capstone backend folder with the Django application for the API here. And then, as Ryan talked about, he used Fight to set up the React with TypeScript project on the front end. The first thing I really had to do was set up my models. So we have two different ticket types for our application. We have service request tickets as well as incident request tickets. And we just see here, this all gets translated to SQL code through Django. But here are our table fields and the control functionality of those, about what kind of data they can accept, etc. We then once we got a little farther in the project, decided to have ticket updates and attachments that could be used for the tickets themselves. But by creating separate models for updates and attachments, I was able to get the functionality of each ticket having multiple updates and multiple attachments, and that seemed to work pretty well. Django does use these serializer classes, and they translate the data back and forth from the front end to back end, usually through JSON data. And that's how the front end can parse the information we send to it, and how the back end can parse the requests that are sent from the front end. And then here we have our views in Django, which is all the API endpoint functionality. So if we go all the way to the top, we have how to register a user, which also defaults to the client group, since we cannot register text through the front-end portal because of the escalated privileges. And then here's how the login system works with username and password. I use the native Django user model, and so it handles username and password really well. I skipped doing like cookie or token authentication because it was getting very complicated very fast. So this is not a very secure user login model, but it works for what we needed. And then here are just different types of requests that get pulled from the front end when they need like ticket information, or if you want to create a ticket, and it handles these different HTTP requests. So post, put, get, delete, which correspond to CRUD operations. The main thing that I worked on in the front end was a lot of the React hook stuff with the like these Axios. I used Axios to do the request to the backend. And you can see here that this is a post request. This one in particular is for creating attachments. And then anyways, I'll get into the website. You can kind of see how it works. So we have logins. I'm going to first log in as a client. And clients are able to create new tickets, new incident, new service tickets. And if they go to search tickets and go to tickets that are already created, you'll see that all the fields are grayed out. They cannot update or edit them. Then I'll just show you the functionality on a text screen. Text can also create tickets, but most of the functionality, if we just make a random date here, we can add files to it. You can choose to submit on behalf of another user, like if they didn't have access for something. We submit the request, and then we can see that this is a service request, so it created it with the attachments. If we go to the admin panel, we can see that SR04 was indeed created. And here are the things that were used to create it. And incident tickets work the same way, but they have slightly different fields. You fill them out, you create them. And then we go to our search panel here. You can either type it in, or I added this recent ticket functionality to pull the 10 latest tickets of each type. We just created 4, so we'll take a look at it. You can see that some of these things are not editable, like the creation timestamp should not be editable. You can click on attachments here and re-download them. It's for viewing purposes. You can push updates to the ticket. And that's basically how our project works. And I'm going to give it back to Dante, to go over some of the final documentation stuff that we did.
Yeah. So that was kind of encompass everything that we've been working on so far. Um, I think along the way, the along the way we realized that we came into um, a couple of issues. I think mainly us losing one of our team members. I want to say around February, he kind of just dropped out. He was around for some of the design and to kind of confirm his role, but past that, our team member Zach kind of just dropped out of communication with us, which is shown in some of the stuff we couldn't get implemented, just because we lost someone who was supposed to be heavy on our back end coding side. But Ryan and Tyler really picked up the slack there, and we were able to cover that gap. Um, but as it was shown earlier, just we had my kind of main thing was creating the timeline for it, um, outlining what the architecture should look like, the um, the wireframing for the website, and then kind of handing it off to the team to handle, I guess, their individual roles. And then I was kind of there to um, be there to consult with if anything came up, if there was something that um, was in my vision that wasn't coming across in the prototypes that kind of were pushed out along the way, making those corrections, and then giving that corrective advice. Um, and rarely did it ever get to a point where um, Evan, Zach, or Ryan really struggled, and I had to kind of fill in any gaps. Evan did mention that I helped a little bit with the front end, but for the most part, that was all him. Um, and Zach and Ryan were, I was basically completely hands off with the back end database side, past just letting them know what needed to be there and how it needed to integrate into the system. So as a whole, um, I think we succeeded in what we set out to do. Um, we have a system that we have a client side and user side. The interactions on those two sides are different. Um, Users can go in and look up tickets and I guess see the updates that have been done to them. Um, and yeah, I think overall we succeeded. We weren't able to add a couple of those bonus features, like you noticed in the demo that Tyler showed. We don't have um, the analytics yet, and we don't have the easy troubleshooting things that the client would be able to handle. But overall, for a ticketing system and us being able to handle as much as we did in 3 months, um, I would say we succeeded in that. I guess I'll hand it back to the team to see if they. I just want to speak on how they felt throughout the project, any kind of struggles that they came across, and then we'll wrap up from there.
I can talk about a few lessons that I learned along the way. Um, so I, like Evan, had no TypeScript experience. I did work with a bit of JavaScript and Google Script through my job, so it wasn't too terrible to pick it up. I'd never worked with a React component modular system like that. Um, I liked the functionality that it added after I kind of learned how the flow worked. Um, Also, really enjoyed working in Django. I like Python as a language in general. It's nice to read and write. I think this project also was a pretty good experience overall with communication with the team. Everyone was willing to help and responded um, in timely manners, except for Zach, like Dante mentioned, seems to have disappeared off of out of our communication. So, but I will hand it over. Evan, did you learn anything that you'd like to share?
Yeah, like, as Tyler was saying, like I have never had any experience with any sort of TypeScript design, and so stepping in and learning a whole different language to at least make it look like decently looking in 3 months while it's like not uncommon, and I know that that is kind of what any of the computer science classes are designed to do, like it without it being a structured thing, it was a new experience, and it was rewarding when you've reached the points where it's the aha moments and the clicking of everything, like making it work. Um, but it was a good chance to learn something new. I enjoyed, like, I think we communicated pretty effectively. Um, and like even in moments where I felt like, oh, like we probably should communicate this better, it'd be one of those times where I'd look at it and be like, oh, they've already communicated this, and they've done an amazing job doing it. And so it was pretty good with communication, except like as we mentioned with Zach. But yeah, that's mostly it for me. Ryan.
I agree with Evan. Our communication works really well. I like the fact that we work together with this project, even though some people worked on different sections. Like me and Tyler worked mostly the back end. He still works some of the front end as well. Even though I didn't know some of the stuff, like I'm not really that good at coding, I still try my best. I've learned so much about, even though it's been a while, to reintegrate myself with SQL. I like the fact that Dante, Tyler, and Evan and me communicated with each other and how we effectively was a team. We weren't, even though we worked in our individual sections, we still worked together and we piggybacked each other. And I liked that the best. And I also, what I learned today was in this project, basically teamwork, working with something that I had no experience in because this is my first time ever working on a project like this. So me just basically going through the experience with everyone working on this project, doing this team's meeting was an experience, and I liked and enjoyed every second of it. And that's just me. And I'll leave it off to to Dante, the final bets.
Yeah, I think just finally to wrap things up, reflecting on my role, um, I think everybody kind of touched on it. We did really good with communication. Um, I think the only critique I would have is a lot of it was asynchronous. So at times it felt like a lot of things were getting done, and Evan touched on this, where a lot was getting done when a specific group had a certain task, and everybody was working on what they had to do. But until that task was kind of pushed out into the group, it was like, okay, there's not much, and then there's everything. So if we had a couple more meetings where they were synchronous, um, like if I would have facilitated more, like maybe like every 2 weeks, just hopping on a call and going over stuff, I think that would have done us a lot of good, and it would have allowed me to catch, I guess, Zach dropping out, and how much more work ended up falling on Tyler and Ryan a lot earlier, and filling a gap there, or even just changing the scope of the project. Um, that could have been a big thing. But I think overall, everybody did what they were supposed to do. Everybody covered um, really more than what they were expected at the beginning of the project, and it wouldn't have gone as well without everybody putting in as much work as they did. But with that, I guess we can wrap up the demo video. Thank you for, I guess, watching, and yeah.